the voices still rise, blood on the ground and fire in the eyes. How long, O Lord, till the justice comes down? We wear the white robes, but still hear the sound. The earth keeps turning, the darkness still grows. The faithful keep walking the road that they chose. No crown in their hands, no answer in sight, just the weight of the waiting through the long night. This is the patience of the saints. This is the fire that never breaks. Hold the line while the hours burn. Stand in the silence till the Lord returns. This is the patience of the saints. This is the strength that never fades. We wait, we watch, we will not run until the work of God is done. Every generation carries the same cry, the same open wound beneath the same sky. They told us to rest for a little while more, while the world keeps scoring its endless war. We do not forget and we do not sleep. We keep what was given, we guard what we keep. The promise still stands, though the days feel thin. The ones who endure will be found within. This is the patience of the saints. This is the fire that never breaks. Hold the line while the hours burn. Stand in the silence till the Lord returns. This is the patience of the saints. This is the strength that never fades. We wait, we watch, we will not run until the work of God is done. Not by might and not by rage, not by the turning of another page, by the blood that speaks a better word, by the ones who stayed when no one heard. Until the number is complete. This is the patience of the saints. This is the fire that never breaks. Hold the line while the hours burn. Stand in the silence till the Lord returns. This is the patience of the saints. This is the strength that never fades. We wait, we watch, we will not run until the work of God is done. Rest a little longer. The robes are already white.
Damn, that was a banger. I have to be honest, that was the first time I heard that song. You might wonder how that is possible. It has been such a busy day that literally 30 minutes ago I sat down, started putting together the news, and came up with an idea for the song. And I'm like, man, this is one of those days to where we're just like, what are we going to do today? You know, it's just like, when is the Lord going to return? Because we have this blood moon that's going to show up here tomorrow, and I'm like, man, this is a time for patience. So I'm like, let's make a song about the patience for the saints. And so I told AI to write that. I'm not crying. It's just, I don't know why my eyes are tearing up. I told it to write that, and I'm like, this is just going to have to be a one-hit wonder. We'll see what we get. So I threw it in Suno. I listened to probably the first 30 seconds of it, and I'm like, okay, this is pretty good. I'm going to have to trust that the end is pretty good. You notice there that it didn't generate the video right. The words weren't keeping up with the song lyrics. I'm going to have to fix that. But damn, that was a really good song. Man, I tell you. Some people may really have an issue with AI, but all glory goes to God. It's amazing. That was a banger, right? I mean, like that hit the nail on the head about the patience of the saints. How long? I'm gonna have to play that one again a couple of times. That was really good. I'm getting ready to publish an album so that these things will go out to all the different services. I know there's a bunch of songs you guys are eager to listen to. I don't know if I got 12 yet. I'm only allowed to publish 12 AI songs with this service. We're pretty close. We might have over 12. We'll see. I'll work on that tonight after the show. It is August. It is Wednesday, August 26, 2026. Welcome to the Two Witnesses Live. I am your host. My name is Watchful. And today's just kind of a winging it by the inspiration of my pants. Is that a phrase? Winging it by inspiration. God's going to have to tell us and direct us what we're doing today because I ain't got nothing prepared. I started martial arts up again today after a month, and I'm pretty sure that I was being punished. Because normally we do 15 minutes of warm-up, and we did an entire hour of warm-up, and I am so freaking sore. It's probably why my eyes are watering. It's just like everything in my body hurts right now. Anyway, how you guys doing? Good, I hope. Amazing music. Pretty good for having. Let's see if I can play this. I don't want to disappear. I want to play the song and listen to it here. Let me pull up Suno. That was such a banger. I liked the intro. All right, so it was this one here. I like that slow, subtle. Let's look at the lyrics here together. This is pretty good. Can I do really none of those?
Under the altar, the voices still rise. Blood on the ground and fire in the eyes. How long, O Lord, till the justice comes down? We wear the white robes, but still hear the sound. The earth
so
keeps
good.
turning, the darkness
Oh my
still
God.
grows. The faithful keep walking the road that they chose. No crown in their hands, no answer in sight. Just the weight of the waiting.
Dude, what a good line.
This is the patience of the saints. This is the
What?
fire that never breaks. Hold the line while the hours burn. Stand in the silence till the Lord returns. This is the patience of the saints. This is the strength that never fades. We wait, we watch, we will not run until the work of God is done.
This might be a contender with Mighty God, guys. Woo.
Every generation carries the same cry, the same open wound beneath the same sky. They told us to rest for a little while more, while the world keeps scoring its endless war.
My.
We do not forget and we do not sleep. We keep What was given, we got what we keep. The promise still stands, though the days feel thin. The ones who endure will be found within. This is the patience of the saints. This is the fire that never breaks. Hold the line while the hours burn. Stand in the silence till the Lord returns. This is the patience of the saints. This is the strength that never fades. We wait, we watch, we will not run until the work of God is done.
These tears are turning into real tears.
Not by might and not by rage, not by the turning of another page, by the blood that speaks a better word, by the ones who stayed when no one heard. How long? How long? How long? Until the number is complete. This is the patience of the saints. This is the fire that never breaks. Hold the line while the hours burn. Stand in the silence till the Lord returns. This is the patience of the saints. This is the strength that never fades. We wait, we watch, we will not run until the work of God is done. Rest a little longer. The robes are already white.
I'm in awe. I am so in awe of the lyrics. Man, well, I have to be honest. One of the reasons why I really like Grok is it knows me and knows the work that we do. So when I ask it to do something like this, there's a good chance it gets it pretty darn good, like 80 to 85% of the time. Today, it just hit like 200%, man. That knocked it out of the park. Like, the play on words, I love it. Just the weight of the waiting through the long night. What? That is so good. And then Suno comes in to just really knock it out of the park. I didn't even give it a style, guys. I just said, do with this what you will. There's no style. And Suno knocked it out of the park. Like it comes in soft. The emotions are perfect. The chorus is amazing. You get to this point, like how long, and you feel it. How long? Wow. Dude, banger. Whew. I love music if you can't tell. That was. Maybe inspiration is a good thing. Maybe we should do this more often. All right, well, let's get into the news before we get into any trouble. Let us come over here. News roundup. Let me go find my notepad here with the news. Ooh, I don't know why my eyes are watering. It's got to be like a muscle thing or something, or I guess there is a fan blowing over in this direction. If you see my eyes watering, it's not tears. Not yet, anyway. That song, though, goosebumps. Oh my gosh. I like martial arts better than, like, I need to get back into working out regularly, but I like martial arts because it kicks my butt so fast. It's like a pretty intense workout. Whew. All right. First up, some cultural news. So these are our stories. Tim Curry dies at 80. We're going to talk about that. Nepal, Tibet, border flood. Hundreds of people are missing. Meta, the Facebook company, child safety settlement up to $17.1 billion. I think I actually got some mail about this. SpaceX, $100 billion Louisiana Spaceport. We talked a little bit about that yesterday when we were reading Elon's post. We're going to talk about that a little bit. Trump trolls Canada, Lake of America. Gotta love that. Fire from the mouth. Primary runoffs in South Carolina and Oklahoma. Death threats against Trump and Rep. Fine. GSA flags $13 billion contractor fraud. And the Air Force major charged after Capitol protests. Let's get into this. First, let's see. British actor Tim Curry has died at the age of 80, best known for his unforgettable role as Dr. Frankenfurter in the Rocky Horror Picture Show. Curry also terrified a generation as Pennywise the Clown in the 1990s miniseries of Stephen King's It. He was a 3-time Tony nominee, a prolific voice actor, and a scene stealer in films like Clue, Home Alone 2, and The Three Musketeers. Curry suffered a major stroke in 2012 and had been using a wheelchair ever since. He died at his home in Toluca Lake, Los Angeles. A unique talent. Rest in peace. I should have prepared with a picture of him. Let's look. Tim Curry. Interesting that all of these people are passing away. At 80 even. Yeah, so Tim Curry. Dolly Parton yesterday, Tim Curry today. Yeah, maybe it's part of the Great Tribulation. I don't know. I mean, you could chalk it up to age. You could chalk it up to other circumstances, things that have happened over the past couple of years that people are regretting. Who knows? Who knows? And that's why right now is a time of patience. This is why I was thinking we need a song about the patience of the saints. It's because there's so many unknowns and so many things are happening, and really it's just a matter of waiting at this point. All right, now to a developing disaster on the other side of the world, a catastrophic flood and mudslide has hit the Nepal-Tibet border. A wall of mud, rock, and water swept through villages near the, forgive me for how I pronounce this, Rasu Wagadi border crossing. At least 157 people are confirmed dead on the Nepali side. Our hearts go out to them. Hundreds are missing, including large numbers of foreign tourists. Not a time to visit Nepal. Nepal's tourism board says 484 tourists are unaccounted for, among them 133 from India, 47 Americans, 34 Australians, 33 from Britain, and 24 Canadians. China reports 3 dead and 265 missing on their side in Geirong County. Rescue helicopters are operating, but many areas remain cut off. Entire settlements were wiped out. Bridges, roads, and homes are gone. Authorities are assessing the full scale. Pray for the missing and the rescue teams. To me, this seems like a sign of the changes that are happening in the Earth as the magnetic poles shift, as the lunar occurrence that's coming tomorrow, the supposed blood moon. I think it's called a partial lunar eclipse. The partial lunar eclipse that may be red. Maybe it's a blood moon. Maybe it's not. That's going to occur tomorrow will definitely have an effect on the Earth as they have in the past, but also we're receiving energy from the sun. I saw a video from Stefan about that. There's incoming solar flares. So there's a lot that's hitting the Earth right now. It's no wonder the Earth is responding with these flash floods, with these earthquakes, with these volcanic eruptions. Stefan talked about the volcanic eruption in Hawaii yesterday. Moving on to Meta, the parent company of Facebook and Instagram, has agreed to pay up to $17.1 billion to settle a lawsuit brought by 29 states. The states accused Meta of deliberately designing its platform to addict children and teens while misleading the public about the risks. As part of the deal, Meta will implement new restrictions, strict daily time limits for young users, nighttime blocks, muted notifications during school. Can we just apply this to everybody? I know a few people who would, their lives would benefit from these restrictions. You know anybody who's constantly got their head down in Facebook? I know a few. We used to laugh when we'd get together with my mother-in-law. It's like, would you like to get together to stare at our phones together? All right. Meta still denies wrongdoing, but is pushing these standards and urging TikTok and YouTube to follow. A massive settlement, the largest of its kind. Are they allowed to deny wrongdoing if the settlement is that they were doing it? Isn't that the point of judgment, to say you were doing this? It's so funny that they still deny it. All right, Starbase in Louisiana. Louisiana. Let's see. Elon Musk's SpaceX has unveiled plans for a massive new spaceport in Louisiana. They're calling it Starbase, Louisiana. Location is near Pecan Island in Vermilion Parish. The price tag, at least $100 billion. That's the largest capital investment in Louisiana history. I would think so. Plans include 10 launch pads across 5 complexes, vehicle processing facilities, propellant production, power generation, an airport, and housing for workers. Construction is expected to begin in 2027. First spaceship launch targeted for 2029. SpaceX says the site could eventually support thousands of flights a year. Musk has even floated the possibility of more than a dozen towers and over 30 Starship flights per day. Wow. This becomes SpaceX's third major hub alongside South Texas and Florida. A huge expansion for Starship and for the American space capability. Can I just say, this reminds me of that scene from Star Trek. Let me see if I can find this. When a new civilization reaches warp capability, they send an envoy. So let's see, Star Trek, new civilization reaches, new civilization discovers warp, which we just discovered warp technology. Let me see if I can find the one I'm thinking of. Where is it? It's that young guy. What I'm thinking of. Where is it? Maybe it's when Earth discovers. Star Trek Earth discovers warp. Is that this one? Cochrane warp flight. Yeah, this is it right here. Found it. Oh, YouTube, please don't dock me for playing this. Phoenix. This is Star Trek Next Generation. I guess we'll just give you your own window.
Final launch sequence checks are complete. Good luck.
Everybody ready to make some history? Always am.
I think I forgot something.
What?
I don't know. It's probably nothing.
Begin ignition sequence.
The reason this reminds me with what Elon is doing is, so this guy, his name is Cochrane right here, Zephram Cochrane. This is supposedly the first warp flight from Earth, and you see Captain Riker, or whatever his name is, First Officer Commander Riker, Jonathan Frakes. I believe they came back in time, if I'm not mistaken, and they're making sure that the discovery of warp goes off without a hitch, because without it, it like destroys the Federation. But it reminds me of like the things that are happening, like legitimately with the end times, with where we are in the end times. It's just like, so we have all of this stuff happening, and like, so Elon is kind of like this Cochrane guy, right? So he's really brought the attention and the money to space flight. He's envisioning it being like as common as air travel, right? And then at the same time, they just discovered warp technology. Where is that video? So warp. Warp drive. Where is it? This guy just did this guy right here. The $1 warp drive that can reach Mars in 3 days. this whole video, that this is a short of it, but he talks for a couple of hours about they've discovered warp technology. They've discovered what we envisioned in Star Trek. And then at the same time, we have all of these end time events that are happening that indicate that prophecy is coming to pass and Jesus is going to return soon. We're like somewhere in Seal 5. Seal 6 looks like it's when the Earth rotates. And it's like, alien disclosures from the White House. It's just like, is this like the birth of a new generation? Like we're discovering like maybe the universe is populated. I know a lot of Christians are of the mind that no, the universe is not populated, that Earth is only 6,000 years old. But, there's enough, I think there's enough evidence to suggest that this could be a very real possibility. Maybe we're actually discovering that we're not alone in the universe. That could explain aliens and angels. It could explain the Nephilim, the Watchers. The Watchers could be literally like the Star Trek Federation that's been keeping an eye over the Earth, watching it until it reaches the state of AI and space travel, and then now they can reveal themselves. So is that Jesus coming back? I don't know. This is what goes on in my head when we're sitting here reading about like Elon Musk, 30 flights a day in 2029. I mean, that's crazy. 10 pads, 30 flights a day. You're talking about legitimate space travel. You're talking about legit Star Trek stuff. It's an exciting time, to say the least. I mean, like, obviously Star Trek is science fiction. It's not necessarily, nonfiction, nonfiction. It's not necessarily true, right? But it's interesting. There's a lot of interesting things that are happening right now. Like I said, when it says that Jesus will appear in the clouds, the Son of Man will appear in the clouds with great power and great glory. Wouldn't that be cool if it was a starship? I'm just saying. It does say that he shows up in the clouds. Maybe that's him revealing, hey guys, check out the ride. You know what I mean? I know that goes against like everything that, church has taught us. And I get it. That's how I was raised. I was raised that, the dinosaurs existed, well, I was taught that the dinosaurs existed before God put the earth back together. And that Tohu Vubahu part, Genesis 1-2. I think the Genesis Museum has made a very good argument that dinosaurs existed before the flood. Interesting. Have you guys been seeing this meme that's going around that's suggesting that the T-Rex was actually a dragon? That it has the shape and the cavities for storing like fuel in its head for fire breathing. And they're speculating that the T-Rex could actually be a dragon. Because do you know the word dinosaur is actually a relatively new term? Dinosaur is only 200 years old, I think. A couple hundred years old. It used to be the word dragon. Wouldn't that be interesting? Like our whole world would be turned upside down. Turns out dragons were real and we just hunted them to extinction. Turns out the universe is actually populated and they've just been waiting for us to achieve a certain level of technology. I don't know. Kind of, it would put a different perspective on things. It really would. Being caught up together with the Lord in the air would be like, transporter technology beaming up those who literally just want to be saved from the trouble that's going to come on the earth. The whole thing was a test to see how well you listened and obeyed and followed him so that you could get your ticket on the ark before the earth is destroyed. I mean, in one sense, that's what it kind of seems like. Because with the magnetic pole shift, the earth rotating, you can imagine that all the water on the earth is going to go somewhere when that happens. There's going to be massive destructions. We're already seeing floods just from solar radiation. And, the gravity of the earth, not the earth, the moon being close to the earth right now is pulling on the earth, very likely causing these flash floods and these earthquakes and these eruptions. Can you imagine what's going to happen when the Earth rotates? It's no wonder that Seal 6 talks about when the sun is dark as sackcloth of hair and the moon becomes his blood. Seal number 6, and then the power, then the whole world mourns. Then they'll see the Son of Man coming in the clouds with great power and great glory, and he'll send out his angels together the elect from the four corners of the earth. It's no wonder that seems to be when the gathering together occurs. It's right before the earth goes into a disaster cycle. It's very much a kind of a pre-flood, get on the boat, shit's about to hit the fan. Anyway, let's move on with the news. This is going to be a fun night. Lake America troll. This is good. I love this. I know this has got to piss people off, but I think that's part of the reasons why I love it. After trade talks collapsed and Ontario's premier told him to kiss my arse, Trump fired back in a classic style. He posted that the United States is giving serious consideration to renaming Lake Ontario Lake of America. See, those would intend to like. This is such a two witnesses move. I mean, seriously, dude. Revelation 11. These are the two olive trees. If anyone wants to harm them, fire proceeds from their mouth and devours their enemies. So this phrase right here, it says it twice. If anyone wants to harm them, fire proceeds from their mouth and devours their enemies. If anyone wants to harm them, he must be killed in this manner. There's two different types of harm here. Can we turn on if it's the same word? I figured out how to do this once. Oh, you can't do it in the New King James. That's the problem. Revelation 11. It's up here. Fire proceedeth from their mouth and devoureth their enemies. So let's see. We'll do this. If anyone wants to hurt them. Dun, dun, dun. All right. And then I have a tool up here. Formatting. How do I turn the Greek words on? I've done this before. Hi. Here, if I hire, so fire proceedeth. No, if anyone wants to hurt them. Well, here's the Greek. Adi Kisai. Am I reading that right? Adi Kisai. It's Strong's number G91. Adi Kisai. Hurt. And then this one is, if any man will hurt them. Is this the same word? Adi Kisai. Same word. Same word in both places. Here's Adikeo. What was it? It was G91. Why is it Adikeo here? Adikeo. From 94. To be unjust. Ah, here it is. Why do they translate it hurt? If any man will hurt them. 91. G91. Adikeo. To be unjust. To do wrong. To hurt. To injure. To be an offender. To be unjust. Do, suffer, take wrong. All right. So the way translations work is the same word can have different inferences. So it could be translated unjust. It could be translated wrong. It can be translated hurt. Oftentimes, the translators will try to pick the appropriate word in the language they're translating it to, in this case from Greek to English. They'll try to pick the word that best fits based on the context. They butcher this one in Revelation 6. They get it wrong. So what is seal number 3? He opened the third seal, and I heard the living creature say, "Come and see." So I looked, and behold, a black horse. He who sat on him had a pair of scales. So this pair of scales here is the Greek word zugos. and it's yoke. And look at the reference here. If you go to this reference, it says Matthew 24:7. When you look at Matthew 24:7, for nation will rise against nation and kingdom against nation, and there will be earthquakes and all these beginning of sorrows. Why does it say Matthew 24:7? That's weird. Pair of scales. It should say yoke. It should be referencing my yoke. My burden is easy. My yoke is light. My yoke is easy. My burden is light. Matthew 24:7. Weird. All right. Well, I don't know why it says that, but the Greek on this is zugos. Inline Bible, all occurrences, which you can't see it in the New King James. That is so retarded. Sorry. They're so dumb. When he opened the third sea, I heard, let's see, black horse, and he who sat him had a pair of balances. See, it can't even. Yeah, so pair of balances. So if we look at this, so zugos, yoke, zygos, yoke. So if you look that up, zugos, from the root zugnumi, to join, by a yoke, a coupling, servitude, a law or obligation, the beam of the balance connecting the scales, pair of balances. They should have translated this yoke, right? A coupling. But the reason they translated this, oh, you guys can't see that here. Let me see if I can zoom in. The reason they translate this, okay, let's go back to the New King James. This is not working. Why are you having such an issue zooming? Zooming. There you go. Easy to read. I don't know why King James is so tiny. Probably a font size somewhere. View. Zoom. Seal number 3. So the reason they translated it pair of scales, and who could blame them for doing this, but it's a good example of translating words based on context. He who sat on it had a pair of scales in his hand. And so the next, they didn't have, so here you also have to understand that in Greek and in Hebrew, there's no chapter markings. There's no divisions separating paragraphs and verses. It's all just text. There's different characters that they use, uppercase and lowercase, and there's different ways of indicating how it should be read. If you read the original language, it's just how you read it. English, we have to have divisions and pauses and stuff like that. Greek is a very precise language. There's multiple words in Greek for, one idea in English. So you can see why they would translate it pair of scales, because right within the context is, I heard a voice in the midst of the 4 living creatures say, a quart of wheat for a denarius and 3 quarts of barley for a denarius, and do not harm the oil and the wine. So in the context, it's talking about measuring something, right? So you're like, okay, if they're talking about measuring, then the yoke must be actually a pair of scales. But that's not what the word is. The word is not actually pair of scales. It's specifically the part that holds the 2 scales on either side, the yoke. So whether it's the yoke of scales or yoke used to combine 2 animals, the word should have been translated yoke. But instead, they went ahead and took creative liberty here with the translation and translated it pair of scales, which has caused no end of confusion to people interpreting this. A couple of problems with this. Number 1, seal number 3 here stands alone. The voice in the midst of the 4 living creatures also stands alone, because this is its own event, and this is referring to something that happens as the result of 4 events. And I heard a voice in the midst of the four living creatures, in the middle of the four living creatures. If you read Revelation 6, it's all about, well, not all of it, half of it is about four living creatures calling attention to events. The first one, seal number 1, conquering. Seal number 2, rider on the red horse, taking peace from the earth, given a great weapon. Seal number 3, a yoking, a yoke. A rider on the horse holding a yoke. And then, before seal number 4, I heard in the midst of the four living creatures say, a quart of wheat for a denarius and 3 quarts of barley for a denarius. Let me ask you a question. What's a quart? Is a quart something you weigh? No. It's a measure of volume. Like a cup. You have a cup, you have a quart, you have a gallon. See the problem? Is they assumed that because the word yoke is used here, and a yoke is part of the way they did balances, that you would take a measure by volume and place it on the scales. What are you measuring it against? So you can see, but you get my overall point here. Is the point I'm trying to make here is the translations. This is the kind of stuff you have to deal with when you're trying to get to the real meaning of what is written. And we're at such a unique place and time right now to where we have concrete things in our life, our reality. The Revelation 12 sign really happens. It's written about in this book. Therefore, we have this anchor point. It is quite literally like a Rosetta Stone. Have you guys seen the Rosetta Stone? Rosetta Stone. All right, so this is the Rosetta Stone. I don't remember what languages are involved. Greek, demonic, and hieroglyphic. Right, so this was how they learned to read hieroglyphics. Before the Rosetta Stone, the key to deciphering hieroglyphics, the key to understanding the hieroglyphics, before we had the Rosetta Stone, you could not understand hieroglyphics. They just looked like little pictures. Yeah, people gave their best guess at, okay, this looks like a little man. He's digging a hole. This guy, he's pushing a cattle. This guy's being whipped. Oh, here's a cat. What do you do with that? You don't really understand how it is that those images conveyed ideas. It wasn't until the Rosetta Stone where they had 3 different languages saying the same thing written on a stone. It's an anchor where you can compare what's written here with with the images. And then once you have a sufficient amount of information, then you can begin to understand and decipher what was hidden. That's the cool thing about where we are right now, is because of that anchor point. And I cannot emphasize enough how important the Revelation 12 sign is. Because of that anchor point, we have a Rosetta Stone. That only happens one time, and it happened in our day and age. That gives us a period in time, and it gives us information by which that we can start to decipher the other images that are written in the book of Revelation. So to my point here, translations, so to get back to our original point of talking here, let's go back to Revelation 11. When it says, if anyone wants to harm them, fire proceeds from their mouth and devours their enemies. If anyone wants to harm them, he must be killed in this manner. Right? And we read the different versions of the word harm, to hurt, to injure, to do something unjust. That's an interesting one. Based on the context here, what this should say is, if anyone wants to be unjust to them, fire proceeds from their mouth and devours their enemy. And if anyone wants to hurt them, he must be killed in this manner. See what I mean? Same word, based on the context, has different meanings. That was why I went through the whole yoke thing. Is you have two different contexts here. This one is clearly, why would it state it twice? So there is a precedence in the scripture for stating something twice. We learned this from Joseph and Pharaoh when the dream was given to Pharaoh twice. It said it was given to him twice to establish the matter. So there is a precedent hermeneutically for why something is given twice. But this is not identical both times. It varies differently. Fire proceeds. So if anyone wants to harm them, fire proceeds from their mouth and devours their enemies. And if anyone wants to harm them, he must be killed in this manner. Different words. One is to devour their enemies, and one is killed in this manner. I put forth to you, and I guarantee you, if you went through and you did a word study on this, I think we asked Grok once about this, that it would turn out that the first one, if anyone wants to be unjust, fire proceeds from their mouth and devours the unjustness. It would be something along those lines. In other words, we see this behavior in Trump. This is what I'm trying to explain is Trump's behavior. And this is exactly what torments people. One of the things that torments people is anyone who is unjust or who is not working with him. Anyone who attacks his reputation, he will devour them. That is what we're seeing. That's what I'm trying to explain to you. So when you see that, the prime minister of Canada calls Trump an asshole, Trump decides, well, let's just call the Lake of Ontario the Lake of America. Like that's his knee-jerk reaction. That's what he does. Every time they attack him, he turns around and devours them. It just completely cuts them in their Achilles heel. He cuts their Achilles heel and they fall out from underneath. See what I'm saying? Am I making my point? You guys understand, right? This is entertaining to me. Seeing Trump do this, I love seeing it. Like somebody attacks him and he turns around and he does something like this. I think it's time we change the Lake Ontario to the Lake of America. It's hilarious. To me, we're watching the two witnesses work. We're watching them torment the world. This is why they hate him. Elon does the same thing, just in his own way. They're two entirely different individuals, but Elon gets the same kind of attacks, and he responds in like manner. He's more articulate and more empathetic, so his responses don't get the same kind of hatred, but the hatred still comes because he speaks the truth. He says the quiet part out loud, and that irritates people as well. So Trump, he just fights back, fire with fire. Elon, he fights with truthful statements. Anyway, so he posted that on he posted that the United States is giving serious consideration to renaming Lake Ontario to Lake of America. Lake America. He even shared a map with the new name in gold letters. We saw that yesterday when we were looking at his posts. He says they feel entitled, but they are not a state and will be entitled no longer. Meanwhile, the trade fight continues. Canada has announced retaliatory tariffs on roughly $20 billion of U.S. goods. Trump has already hit Canadian trucks, cars, and steel with 50% tariffs. The back and forth is heating up. You can see why this all leads to a great tribulation. This is why we played the song Patience of the Saints. All right, let's move on. All right, primary runoff. In South Carolina, Darlene Graham, sister of the late Senator Lindsey Graham, defeated Representative Ralph Norman in the Republican Senate primary runoff. She won 52 to 48%. That's pretty close. President Trump endorsed her, and she thanked him in her victory speech. She will face Democrat Annie Andrews in November in a solidly red state. In Oklahoma, progressive activist Nikila Thomas won the Democratic Senate primary runoff. She ran with strong anti-AIPAC, AIPAC messaging, and will face Trump-endorsed Republican Kevin Hern in the fall. Let's see, a serious threat case. The FBI has arrested a 26-year-old named Alex Justin Miller from Ohio. Authorities say he sent a graphic email threatening to murder Florida Congressman Randy Fine, burn down his home, kill his family, and behead him. Oh, my goodness. Ending with death to Randy Fine and death to Donald Trump. That's prophecy fulfillment. Not so much the Randy Fine, but the Donald Trump part. Why is he lumped into that? Fine reported it immediately. Within about 36 hours, Miller was in custody. He's charged with interstate transmission of a threat to injure. Maximum of 5 years if he is convicted. This is another reminder that rhetoric is getting more dangerous. All right, on the fraud front, the General Services Administration, GSA for short, announced it has identified more than $13 billion in suspected fraud by federal contractors since March. This is part of the White House Fraud Task Force led by Vice President J.D. Vance, whom President Trump named his fraud czar. GSA Administrator Edward Forst issued a clear warning: "We will catch you, and we will do everything in our power to help recover every dollar you stole." The broader task force has now flagged roughly $250 billion in suspected public funds fraud across agencies. You know, America is $40 trillion in debt. I can't help but wonder how much of that is the result of fraud. Like the fact that they're just now starting to crack down on fraud. How long has this fraud been happening and going on? How much evil has this fraud funded for us just to now be going after it and finding it? The fact that it's so easy to find now tells me that it's probably a feature of the system, not a bug. You know what I mean? It's not like this isn't like a one-off. Our system has changed throughout the years to support this kind of fraud. No wonder why people hate this administration. Taking away their fraud money. They're going to have to work. All right, one more consequences story. Air Force Major Jason Watson has been formally charged under the Uniform Code of Military Justice. In July, Watson put on his uniform, stood on the steps of the U.S. Capitol with Democrat Representative Al Green, and publicly called for the impeachment and removal of both President Trump and Vice President Vance. He later went on to CNN and doubled down. He's now facing multiple charges: 3 counts of contempt towards officials, 5 counts of failure to obey regulations, and 2 counts of conduct unbecoming an officer. He is currently in pre-trial confinement. Actions have consequences, especially in uniform. Good. I'm glad. He should be punished. Even Scripture says, obey those who have rule over you and submit yourselves, for they watch for your souls as they that must give account, that they may do it with joy and not with grief, for that is unprofitable for you. Yeah, you end up in jail. We're told to obey unjust leaders. We're told to obey the people who have rule over you. Even Jesus did this. Render to Caesar what's Caesar's. So just because, and this all goes down to this. Why is it that way? Why are we subject to somebody who has rule over us? Because of the curse we're in. We're on a planet that is ruled by injustice, ruled by the consequences of knowledge of good and evil. People are allowed to be evil, and you may find yourself under one of their administrations, and God's advice is obey them. And it's not, honestly, that's not even in the context of evil rulers. It's in the context of those who have the rule over you, right? So somebody who has the rule over you. This goes to, a large message in the Scriptures: all things should be done decently and in order. You know, if you want to combat evil, there's ways of doing it. But, you know, just bitching and complaining and you know, bad mouthing the machine and refusing to comply, it'll be unprofitable for you. And that's kind of the point. It's just like this guy, there are other ways that he could have gone about getting the attention that that he did not approve of President Trump and Vice President Vance's actions. Instead, he chose to violate rules and regulations, and now he's receiving the consequences of those. So, more power to him. Yeah, you guys know how I feel about Trump anyway. Trump and Vance, man, I tell you, Vance is on my radar for doing more harm than good. Maybe we should do a video on him, just evaluating him. See if he fits somewhere into the prophecies. All right, let's see. That's pretty much the major picture for today. Iran, Hormuz. Let's see. Did I read about Iran? Rubio, no strikes unless Iran strikes first. Iran and Oman floated a shipping lane plan. Oil dropped to a 2-week low. Oops. Visa crackdown. State Department is preparing to revoke up to 20,000 tourists and business visas from short-term visitors who then filed for asylum. Let's see. Coach Bruce Pearl is urging conservatives to stop infighting over the Protect College Sports Act. He says the text preserves Title IX and state sex-based team laws. Okay. Canada personnel. Prime Minister Mark Carney named American Democrat operative Maya Johnson to a senior PMO post as U.S.-Canada talks collapsed. There you go. That's the picture. Curry remembered a deadly flood on the Nepal Tibet border. Meta is paying billions. SpaceX is planting a $100 billion spaceport in Louisiana. Trump trolling Canada. Runoffs decided. A threat, a fraud haul, and a major in custody. All right. There you have it. That is the news. Let's do a timeline update. That'll get us into the blood moon and stuff. Here we go.
I created the heavens and the earth, a perfect harmony, a timeless birth. I shaped the stars, I set them free, a world of wonder, a song for me. I formed the man, the dust took flight. I gave the woman a shared delight. Together they stood, my breath, their frame, a mirrored heart, a living flame. Got real cracked, his voice a snare.
Hey everyone.
All right, let's pick this up with Stefan. So we're going to look at the things that are happening immediately, and then we'll look at the timeline, talk about these things. So we already covered the blood moon. We watched most of this video. I think we got all the important parts. So there's a blood moon tomorrow. It's tomorrow, right? No, the day after tomorrow. The 28th UTC. When is that? Eastern or Pacific Standard Time, I wonder. Anyway, there's a coming blood moon, if you want to call it that. It's a partial lunar eclipse that will have. It's going to go through the umbra. Is that what it's called? The umbra.
Here, last.
Yeah, it's going to go through the umbra, the Earth's shadow, and turn red. Which that's how a blood moon happens. It's just for a total blood moon, it's usually 100% in the umbra. But this one's 95% in. Maybe close enough. Reason this is interesting is seal number 6, the second coming. So this is, let's get back in here to seal numero 6. Seal of Israel, seal 6. Cosmic disturbances, yeah. So the sun will become black as sackcloth of hair, and the moon will become like blood. So this does say the moon will be like blood. And then over here, immediately after the tribulation of those days, the sun will be darkened and the moon will not give its light. So the thing that's interesting about this, these could be talking. I'm putting forth that these are the same. They're talking about the same eclipse and lunar eclipse. Now, there's two different ways that we could read this. We could read this as this happening at the same time, which that's interesting. Because here, check this out. The stars will fall from heaven and the powers of the heavens will be shaken. Then the sign of the Son of Man will appear in heaven. And the stars of heaven fell to the earth as a fig tree drops its late figs when it is shaken by a mighty wind. Then the sky receded as a scroll when it is rolled up, and every mountain and island was moved out of its place. See, this to me indicates that the earth is going to rotate. We've got neat little two witnesses. We've got neat little illustrations here. Stars. Is it on stars? Maybe it's not on stars. Where was it? Where did I make the... Yeah, we'll just use Sky Sentinel. Really? Social. Where did I put the... I started building a simulator. What did I do with it? Obviously I haven't added it to the website yet. Let me go look for that real quick. I think I built that on Grok Build. So it's probably an app on Grok Build. Trying to remember what I called this thing. I built so many apps. You guys have no idea. Because all I do all day long is write code. Well, AI writes code now for me. All I do is I direct armies of agents writing code on my behalf, which means that I'm probably writing like 3 or 4 apps every day. So I know I built one recently. It's not the game. It was the simulation. Let me do a search for a simulation. Creation in Symfony, last day's model. I want to say that's probably it. See if Grok can find it. Where is the last day's simulation we worked on? Give me a link. Bear with me here a minute. Really? Is it this hard to find? I have a new Sky Sentinel coming. The guy who wrote the project that was the inspiration for the Sky Sentinel, he released the code. We're going to be working that into our system here soon. No, it's not prophecy claims. I don't see a standalone repo. It was an Earth simulation. Earth simulation for the magnetic poles. Could have swore I used Grok build. Maybe I dreamed it. You guys ever get like that? You dream something and then you wake up and what you dreamed you think is real? I'm kidding. I know for a fact I built this thing. I just honestly don't remember where I did it. That tracks. Let's see. Loop ship geo. Something. No magnetic pole shifts. Man, maybe I did dream it. Where else would I have built it? I could go look in my development environment. Maybe I built it locally. By the time I find this, I'm going to completely have forgotten why I was talking about this thing. Stars. Is this it? Let's run it. PNPM dev. Nope. How do we run this? Oh no, this is the Stars app. Right here. Hang on a minute. I'm going to play some music for you guys while I look for this. What kind of music you guys want to listen to? Let's listen to this song again.
Still rise, blood on the ground and fire in the eyes. How long, O Lord, till the justice comes down? We wear the white robes, but still hear the sound. The earth keeps turning, the darkness still grows. The faithful keep walking the road that they chose. No crown in their hands, no answer in sight, just the weight of the waiting through the long night. This is the patience of the saints. This is the fire that never breaks. Hold the line while the hours burn. Stand in the silence till the Lord returns. This is the patience of the
That's a pretty good song to wait to. Please be patient. It's almost like a we'll be right back. I need to add a little screen. We'll be right back. This is the patience of the saints. All right, I didn't find it, but we'll just use this. The point I was trying to make is when the Earth rotates like this, there's going to be catastrophic problems, right? The Earth is going to move and rotate. The islands are going to be moved out of their place, right? So the sky receded as a scroll when it is rolled up, and every mountain and every island was moved out of its place. So that's what's going to happen here. So you've got every island and every mountain in here is going to be moved out of its place. It's just going to go just like that. I mean, it's just obvious that it's moved out of its place. Everywhere. I mean, like the entire planet. Whoops. Moved out of its place. Let's turn off these, what are those guys? Turn all off. Or not. There you go. Yeah. So right here you got Greenland, North Pole. And it's going to move like that. So you got the sky receding like a scroll. So, okay. So what I wanted to point out here is, so the sun and the moon. So there's a couple of ways. I've already gamed this out before. I've kind of ruled out the eclipse and the blood moon happening on the same day. But that's why I was trying to look for the globe that I was working on, because I was trying to do a simulation to see, okay, where's the sun? So the sun, the sun's over here. And if you're like here, so the sun's there. The moon usually has to move in front of the sun for it to be an eclipse, right? So when the earth and the sun, when the moon and the sun are on the same side, there's no blood moon. It's when the moon is over here and the sun shadow, I believe. Is that what he was saying? Yeah, he's got a little illustration here. So you got the sun on this side of the earth, the moon on that side of the earth. This is what actually causes the blood moon. So what I was wondering is it possible to where during a solar eclipse, is it possible that the earth rotates and then suddenly the moon becomes like blood? That's one possibility. I don't think that's the case, though. If anybody else can find any kind of a simulation or work that out or come up with a way that those two things can occur on the same day, that would be very interesting to me, because that would indicate that this happens all at once. So immediately after the tribulation of those days, the sun will be darkened and the moon will not give its light. The way it's written, it sounds like it happens at the same time. The stars will fall from heaven and the powers of heaven will be shaken. However, logistically, I don't think it's possible. So, like, if you're here, so say you're right here, or wherever you are, I don't know, maybe you're over here, maybe you're in here. Maybe, let's do Israel. So you're right here in Israel, right? So say you're right here in Israel, sun's over here, moon's over here. How would you see a solar eclipse? That's not possible. So so a solar eclipse is both the sun and the moon are right here. And then the moon moves in front of the sun, blocking it out. That's how you get a total occlusion of the sun. That's why the sun shines behind the moon. But a blood moon, a lunar eclipse, the moon moves into the Earth's shadow and is eclipsed. So I don't know of a way, because the moon itself would physically have to move from one side of the Earth to the other. So you would almost need, what would you need? Almost need like the whole thing to flip over, which I can't do that in this. It won't let me. It'll let me move it to there. It'll let me do the magnetic pole shift. It won't let me flip the Earth. That would do it. If you were suddenly on this side, so if you're on this side of the Earth, and then suddenly, nope, that would just rotate it. Because the moon is still over here and the sun is over there. Yeah. Okay. I don't think it's possible. Let's just put it that way. I don't think it's possible for the sun to be darkened and the moon to not give its light if this is talking about the natural way that this happens, which I have no reason to believe it's not talking about that. The sun will become black as sackcloth of hair and the moon will be like blood. What this sounds to me like it's describing is a total solar eclipse and then 2 weeks later, a blood moon. Which, if we go look on here, because that's usually the case, is if there's a blood moon, if there's an eclipse, if there's a solar eclipse, it's usually 2 weeks before you have your lunar eclipse. So February 6th, February 14th, 2 weeks. August 2nd, August 16th, 2 weeks. January 11th, January... Wow, that's a lot of eclipses in a row. Is that 2 weeks? It's about 2 weeks. So lunar eclipse, solar eclipse. So what it seems like it's saying is this. Nope, that's May to October. That's not 2 weeks. Could be. Could be May to October. March to April. There you go. So that's what it seems like it's saying, is you've got a total solar eclipse. The moon becomes black as sackcloth of hair, and then the moon becomes blood red. And then the stars of earth, the stars of heaven fell to earth as a fig tree, drops its late figs when it is shaken by a mighty wind. Then the sky receded as a scroll when it is rolled up, and every mountain and island moved out of its place. So we are at this unique time, which maybe in 2 days, maybe the Earth rolls over. I mean, like we already had the total solar eclipse. Was it a total solar eclipse? Where are we? We're in 2027. August. So we had a total solar eclipse. Wrong. Here. Really? It cuts it off? You can't see? We already had a total solar eclipse. There we go. Let's see if we can see this better. 2025, 2026. So we had a solar eclipse, blood moon, lunar eclipse total. That was a better, well, that was an annular solar eclipse. That's the one that tends to be the crown. I don't know why they put the star here. The annular solar eclipse is the one that typically is the one that shows like a crown, but they've got it here. Total solar eclipse, lunar eclipse. So it's interesting. You know what's interesting about this? It's doubled. You guys see that? Solar eclipse, blood moon. Solar eclipse, blood moon. We just talked about when the scripture doubles something, it means the thing is established. Maybe there is something to this eclipse. Hell, maybe we're getting ready for the Earth to roll over. Maybe we are getting ready to see seal number 6. So if you tomorrow or tonight, tomorrow, the next 3 days, you start seeing stuff fall from heavens, get ready for the whole Earth to be rocked. See, there's an indication, though, And the kings of the earth, the great men, the rich men, the commanders, the mighty men, every slave man hid themselves in the caves and in the rocks. So if you see all of these people, kings, great men, rich men, commanders, running to their bunkers, you'll know they know something we don't know. Because the next time that happens, for a total eclipse and a blood moon, it's pretty far down here. I mean, unless they're spread far apart, which they could. You know, this one, July to December. But these ones are pretty close. February to March. August to August. 2 weeks apart, each one. Kind of in weird locations. I don't know. So the other thing this could be is maybe it's not the normal way that the sun is darkened. There is the possibility that volcanoes could erupt and put enough ash into the air to blot out the sun. That's a theory. I don't really buy the theories to where the governments fill the skies with anything that are going to blot out the sun. They might be able to do that in a small area. There are projects where they actually have mirrors in space, and they can bring sunlight to dark areas, but I don't think that they can do something to blot out the sun. It's interesting that it says it becomes as black as sackcloth. Is sackcloth black? Became black as sackcloth of hair. What is sackcloth of hair? Anybody know what sackcloth of hair is? Sun becomes black as sackcloth of hair. What does that mean? Isn't sackcloth normally like brown or tan? Isn't that what they normally wear when they're mourning or when they're showing humility? Like putting off your wealth. That's usually what sackcloth is indicative of. Why would it say the sun becomes black as sackcloth of hair? This one just says the sun will be darkened and the moon will not give its light. See, a blood moon gives light. It's just red. This one says, and the moon became like blood. I really want to believe these are talking about the same events. It's possible that they're not. All right, Revelation 6:12 says that when the sixth seal is open, there's a great earthquake. The sun became black as sackcloth of hair, and the moon became as blood. Sackcloth of hair is coarse, dark cloth, usually woven from black goat hair, sometimes camel hair. It was the standard garment of mourning. Really? I did not know it was black. Repentance, humiliation, and distress. Rough, uncomfortable, and deliberately unadorned. The image is not just the sun got dark. It is that the sun itself put on the clothes of grief. The heavens are in mourning. Interesting. The language of appearance is used throughout the prophets. The sun's light is blocked so thoroughly that it looks dead, black, rather than merely dim. Possible physical causes people have connected to the text include massive volcanic ash, dust, or smoke. The historic examples like Krakatoa in 1816 was a year without summer. Nuclear-scale debris or firestorms. Ooh, I would buy that one. I would buy that one because it says immediately after the tribulation of those days. I've long since speculated that the tribulation, the Great Tribulation, is nuclear. So if there's enough nuclear fallout that it blots out the sun, that would be interesting. That could happen right before a blood moon. So that means that any blood moon, so that could be as early as this one, 2028, December 31, 2028. So if you had nuclear winter, nuclear fallout right before this, you could have the sun blotted out, and then the moon breaks through as a blood moon. That could happen. Interesting. What else? A supernatural darkness, similar to the 3 hours at the crucifixion. Extreme atmospheric or geomagnetic disruption. Yeah, I imagine if the Earth rolls over, that could do it. That could throw up enough ash to blot out the sun. The bigger prophetic pictures. This is not isolated wording. It directly echoes Joel 2:31. The sun shall be turned into darkness and the moon into blood before the great and terrible day of the Lord. Isaiah 13:10 and 53. I clothe the heavens with blackness and I make sackcloth their covering. And then obviously Matthew 24. Immediately after the tribulation of those days, the sun is darkened. In Revelation, the sixth seal follows the first 5. It is the first major cosmic shaking that makes every class of person hide in caves and cry for the mountains to fall on them. So that's an indication of when we know it's about to happen. When everybody is running for their bunkers, which they're building right now, by the way. The great day of his wrath has come. All right, well, I think we've probably beat this one to death. All right, let's continue. Let's move on. Let's listen to, so we've got that. So that's coming up. It's a blood moon. Inconclusive on if that blood moon is indicative of any kind of, if it's indicative of seal number 6. I'm not entirely sure. I lean towards probably not, just because of the timing. We still got more stuff on the timeline that needs to happen. 5. Seal number 5. I don't think we're in seal number 5. I don't think it's happened. When he opened the 5th seal, I saw under the altar the souls of those who had been slain for the word of God and for the testimony which they held. And they cried with a loud voice, saying, How long, O Lord, holy and true, until you judge and avenge our blood on those who dwell on the earth? Then a white robe was given to each of them, and it was said to them that they should rest a little while longer, until both the number of their fellow servants and their brethren who would be killed as they are was completed. See, to me, this feels like, since this happens right before seal number 6, and Matthew 24:21 through 31, same order of events, Great Tribulation right before seal number 6, I'm inclined to believe that we are still waiting for things to get way worse before there's any kind of a rapture. You know what I mean? I could be wrong, as always. Often am wrong. But I'm also get things right. That should not go unrecognized. I do get things right through the process of consistency and trial and error. Once I get things right, you guys will never even remember the things I got wrong. Kind of like the light bulb. The thousands and thousands of iterations that never worked out, you completely forget when you find the one that does work. But I think we're here. I think that we still got the Great Tribulation. And if you're paying attention, I think it looks like the world is beginning to shift into a lot more trouble. That could be what this double eclipse is. That could be what this is. Solar, lunar. This could be the warning of seal number 5 and seal number 6. It's established. All right, let's listen to what he's got to say about, is this the one I want to listen to? The volcanic eruption, and then we also got another one to listen to.
Geophysicist Stefan Burns here with breaking news. We have had 5 M-class solar flares over the past 24 hours. These are the second strongest category of solar flare. Earth has already been charged up as a result of that light flux hitting the planet on the sunlit side of the Earth, but there's also now a solar storm inbound. So with our 131 angstrom view here, we can see these solar flares. We very likely could have more coming in over the next few days. We're right now in the middle of the superior conjunction of Mercury, and we see that often there is enhanced space weather and solar activity, solar flaring, solar storms during that planetary alignment with the planet closest into the sun, which also has a magnetic field just like Earth. So we're seeing this enhancement. Now the thing is, these solar storms have been a little deflected from exactly Earth center direct, even though they are along that central meridian, the sunspots, because we have this coronal hole here with an open magnetic field kind of deflecting it more to the east solar coordinate system, which means that the next 2 days are very dynamic and could also be very spicy, because as this continues to rotate, it'll still be in the Earth strike zone, as we call it. But even from over here, because of that coronal hole, if that dynamic remains, that could actually launch it more direct to our planet than these ones here. And well, we already have solar storms coming in. So we could be looking at a train of solar storms over the next week. Impact for this is expected around the 28th, 29th of August. Perhaps it comes in a little sooner, but basically after the partial lunar eclipse. Don't forget, we have that coming up on the 27th, so just in a couple days. So it's peaking at 9:12 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time, August 27th, if you're on the
9:12. So that is tomorrow. Tomorrow at 9 Pacific Standard Time. 9, 10, 11. So that'll be 11 Eastern Standard Time.
East Coast of the United States, that is 12:12 a.m.
12.
Eastern Daylight Time. That's already a powerful energetic moment. Every full moon is, of course, you have more light simply being reflected from the moon into the Earth. It's not just visible light either. We see the visible light, but there's ultraviolet light, there's gamma ray light, there's X-ray light, there's radio frequencies. All the light is being reflected by the moon. It's one giant mirror reflecting light into our planet, charging up our planet with more energy. And when you get a
You know what's going to be confusing is if we are going into the Great Tribulation, is that this? So the sun will be darkened and the moon will not give its light before the. Is that Joel? Was that Joel 2:31? I just had an idea. The sun shall be turned into darkness and the moon into blood before the coming of the great and awesome day of the Lord. And it shall come to pass that whoever calls on the name of the Lord shall be saved. For in Mount Zion and in Jerusalem there shall be deliverance, as the Lord has said, among the remnant whom the Lord calls. So let's see. And it shall come to pass that whoever calls on the name of the Lord shall be saved. Remember this. Write this down as a note. As people start to go into the bunker, whoever calls on the name of the Lord shall be saved. For in Mount Zion and in Jerusalem there shall be deliverance, as the Lord has said, among the remnant whom the Lord calls. For behold, in those days and at that time, when I bring back the captives of Judah and Jerusalem, I will also gather all nations and bring them down to the valley of Jehoshaphat. I wonder if that happens by way of the magnetic pole shifts. Because how else do you move everybody down to, how else do you change locations, get people to all change locations simultaneously? And I will enter into judgment with them there on account of my people, my heritage Israel, whom they have scattered among the nations. They have also divided up my land. They have cast lots for my people, have given a boy as payment for a harlot. Yeah, that happens a lot. And sold a girl for wine. That too happens, that they may drink. That's very Islamic. And, well, I mean, also apparently the United States of America is one of the largest consumers of the sex trade. Indeed, what have you to do with me, according to Sound of Freedom? What have you to do with me, O Tyre and Sidon, and all of the coast of Philistia? Will you retaliate against me? But if you retaliate against me swiftly and speedily, I will return your retaliation upon your own head. That kind of sounds like if you harm, fire comes from their mouth and devours. If you retaliate against me, I retaliate against you. That's the same sentiment there as, if you intend harm, fire. It's a retaliatory. That's what the fire from the mouth seems like. It seems like retaliation. If you retaliate against me, I will retaliate against you. Swiftly and speedily I will return your retaliation upon your own head, because you have taken my silver, my gold, and have carried it into your temples, my prized possessions. Also the people of Judah and the people of Jerusalem you have sold to the Greeks, that you may remove them far from their borders. Behold, I will raise them out of the place to which you have sold them, and will return your retaliation upon your own head. I will sell your sons and your daughters into the hand of the people of Judah, and they will sell them to the Sabians, to a people far off. Anyway, enjoying reading Joel. For behold, in those days, at that time, when I bring back the captives of Judah. Okay, no, it was 231. This does sound like seal number 6. The sun shall be turned into darkness, and to blood, into moon, before the coming of the great and awesome day of the Lord. That sounds a lot like Matthew 24. And seal number 6. Sun into darkness, moon into blood, for the coming of the great and terrible day of the Lord. So it's great because we're delivered. It's terrible for those who remain behind, who don't call on the name of the Lord. Before the coming of the great and awesome day of the Lord. And it shall come to pass that whoever calls, and see, this is your ticket to the ark. Whoever calls on the name of the Lord shall be saved. For Mount Zion and Jerusalem there shall be deliverance. The Jews do keep saying everybody should move to Jerusalem. I wonder if Jerusalem is unaffected by the magnetic pole shift. So where would that be? So Jerusalem is here. Magnetic pole shift. Yeah, that's going to be in the South Pole. Really? Interesting. Why would you want to be in Jerusalem? Dude, if this really does shift like that, I mean, if it's right there, well, the Earth will continue to rotate this way. So it'll be, well, I guess it depends on how it rolls. I imagine it'll be like this. So it'll, yeah, because didn't he say, I think he said that it'll be like this. Yeah, I think Ben Davidson has said it'll be something like this, because you're basically going to get this side of the United States at the equator, which, lo and behold, is also about where Jerusalem would be. So you either want to be on the East Coast or you want to be here. Interesting. For Mount Zion and Jerusalem there shall be deliverance. And if Yeshua shows up in a spaceship, there'll also be deliverance that way. All right, get back.
Lunar eclipse. Well, that is when you have the moon perfectly pass into
Flip the other way.
shadow.
If you rotate it the other way, all the land masses will be at the equator. Is that what I was doing? Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, so if there's two ways you can rotate it, they'll all be at the equator. So as long as you don't rotate it this way, then the land masses will be at the North and South Pole. I'm gonna go with your recommendation, Hizzy. I think it's this way. I think that puts the land masses at the equator.
Turning it into a blood red color. So that's very interesting. But we see the RAM dynamic pressure here. We see that most of this plasma and the pressure from the solar storm is more towards the east because of that deflection. They also show some of the RAM pressure here more towards the south. But in general, we are being hit by that. So we're going to have this solar storm impact. And then as a result, we'll have bigger swings in Earth's magnetic field. That's a geomagnetic storm.
Might want to buy a boat too, because you're going to be underwater.
Here we see the shock wave produced by that 6.9 M-class flare, which was the strongest of this 5-flare sequence. It was a 1.7, a 1.9, a 1.0, a 1.8, and then a 6.9.
All right, you guys get the point. There's we're being hammered with impact. And then this is the Pacific has suddenly gone out of control.
Hello and welcome everyone. I'm your host, Stefan Burns, geologist, geophysicist, space weatherman, here to discuss the crazy energetic conditions that currently are in the Pacific Ocean. We have a whole slew of cyclones rampaging through the Pacific, and we are having some big volcanic eruptions. Today we are having Kilauea's 54th lava fountain episode since December of 2024, which is a record number of lava fountain episodes, and it's also in a time period faster than the prior record, which was about 3 years, from 83 to 86, part of the Pu'u'o'o eruptive cycle. I think it was 46 eruptive episodes across 3 years. We've now had 54 in a little bit more than a year and a half. But other big news is that yesterday we had a gigantic volcanic eruption from Unveils Island in Vanuatu, part of the largest volcano there. Also a shield volcano, very similar to Kilauea. It blasted an ash plume up 15 kilometers. So basically 50,000 feet, well up into the stratosphere. From what I could tell, based on my research and searching, this is the largest known eruption to have struck that volcano in recorded history. And when the Japanese detected it, they detected that there was this big ash plume and everything. It happened at night. So it was on the nighttime side when it first exploded, still going. They were worried that there could be a tsunami coming in. So that shows you how serious that volcanic eruption is. So we have massive volcanic eruptions occurring right now in the Pacific. We also had Titan Ridge, if you remember that. Largest eruption of 2026. We'll give it a look. I don't think it's been that active for the past maybe month or so, but that was a big eruption earlier, just a couple months ago in 2026. Kilauea, of course. Now Unveils volcano, Vanuatu, and all these cyclones. So sea surface temperatures are at record highs. Actually, just a few days ago, we had a record for highest global sea surface temperature for our historic records. So this El Nino is getting even crazier than what you may have heard, because a lot of these weather forecasters, they're just looking at weather, like sea surface temperature, and they're just looking at some of these variables. They're not considering volcanic activity, right? If we're seeing this sort of activity from Kilauea, which is one of the world's largest hotspots connected to it, and Unveils volcano, being a shield volcano, also connected to these deep magma sources, imagine all the deep sea volcanism that we're completely unaware of that's occurring right now, also influencing the temperature and the other factors of the ocean. Now, it's going to be the deep, deep, deep ocean, but there's got to be some effect. We know that CO2 flux from...
All right, so obviously a lot of stuff happening on the Earth. He goes into this for an hour. Let's listen to Suspicious Observers about the magnetic pole shift.
Good morning, folks. Welcome, observers. It is Saturday, August 22nd, 2026. And today we've got a look at space weather. We'll see aerosol data from GEOS, eye candy from Chandra, cosmic pinball from the ESA, and incredible magnetic science from the Lawrence Livermore National Lab. We're looking now at the last 24 hours on our star, where we find activity has been somewhat elevated. Eruption yesterday morning off the right side, the departing limb directed 90 degrees away from the Earth. The uptick in solar flaring has been at the limb spots left and right, which is dying back down here this morning without significant CME production in Earth's direction.
Yeah.
The proton flux off that right side blast is on the rise, but slowly, unlikely to reach any major storm levels here. And as you can see on the GOES X-ray flux, there has been a cessation of the flaring since the longer duration blast. No more. The departing spots are now totally out of view here this morning, while the equatorial incoming group marches in. Slight satellite data jump there, but we can say this morning we've got decaying cores that maintain some minor complexity. Will they flare or dissipate today? Up first in the geoscience, we are looking at the latest from GEOS aerosols, carbon, dust, sea salt, spray, and sulfates. This visualization was produced by the Goddard SVS at NASA and shows the data from the newest fleet of Earth-observing satellites monitoring...
Goddard. You know, that name, Goddard, I'm pretty sure I used to rent a house from somebody related to Goddard, and it's a pretty big name. Like, they're responsible for a lot of schools and research and stuff like that. They were the weirdest. They were the weirdest landlords I'd ever had. I got to go to their house once. Their house, everything in it was pure white. I mean, everything. Chairs, vases, tables, everything in the house was pure white. It was like it was weird. And their house was like a moat. It had around it, they had this little river that went around the entire house. It was the coolest thing. I didn't rent that house from them. I'd rented a farm from them in 2006. But every time I hear that name Goddard, I'm reminded of that landlord. I don't know if they're related. They were definitely super wealthy, so it wouldn't surprise me if it wasn't the same Goddards.
Delicate shifts in air quality and particulate matter. Up next, just a beautiful look at the Tarantula Nebula here, optical, infrared, and then finally the X-rays. The color is striking, but the multi-wavelength view allows us to do everything from see fine detail, notice subtle plasma glows, and even build 3D models of the object in space.
Cool.
You may remember the Hera asteroid impact mission, largely considered one of the most incredible.
See, when you guys see this kind of stuff, this was my point yesterday. Like, look how big the sun is. Look how amazing the things are that are going on in the earth. Like, God is way bigger than most people really sit down and think about. Like, when you think about the scale of the universe, he's bigger than that.
Is striking, but the multi-wavelength view allows us to do everything from see fine detail, notice subtle plasma glows, and even build 3D models of the object in space. You may remember the Hera asteroid impact mission, largely considered one of the most incredible things humans have ever done in space. They're now saying that they think the Martian moon suffered a similar fate, with evidence of an impact creating its South Pole depression and sending the fine, dusty material across the surface. All these links are down below, by the way, beneath the video.
You know what was cool about that landlord named Goddard is, even though they were mega rich, like they were really rich, like that house was a mansion. They were mega rich. Even though they were mega rich, anytime we had a problem with the property, the guy himself would come do the work. He wouldn't hire people. Like, we had an air conditioner go out once. He came and fixed the air conditioner. We had like a spider infestation once. He came and sprayed for the spiders. This dude was cool. It's like, that's true wealth. Like, the people who actually bust their butts. I don't think people realize, like, the people who are super rich, a lot of them work probably 10 times harder than the average person, which is why they're super rich.
And last but not least, we're here at the National Lab where the most outrageous science just unfolded. They say the mystery of gamma ray emission is solved, and it's due to the decay of atoms where two critical things are happening. There's an electrical event where the subatomic particles shift position within the atom, and then there's a magnetic event where the individual subatomic particles have magnetic reversals. The little pieces of the atom have mini pole flips while changing places and orientations. That plays from cosmology all the way to the Earth disaster cycle and the magnetic flips within the galaxy, the sun, and the Earth. This is the subject of our latest textbook, all about the disaster unfolding now and set to peak in the 2040s. Get our textbook today, because not only are there less than 200 remaining, but this week we'll be starting pre-orders for what might be the last book of all. Grab the first one, grab the second later this week, and it may be the last for the same reason that this may be the last tour. It begins today here in Seattle and goes around the country. I am back here doing the morning show.
He didn't talk about
now,
reversals, did he? Did I miss it?
The atom have many pole flips while changing places and orientations.
Oh, that was clickbait, dude. Come on. The second, okay. Subatomic magnetic reversals.
Things are happening. There's an electrical event where the subatomic particles shift position within the atom, and then there's a magnetic event where the individual subatomic particles have magnetic reversals. The little pieces of the atom have mini pole flips while changing places and orientations. That plays from cosmology all the way to the Earth disaster cycle and the magnetic flips within the galaxy, the sun, and the Earth. This is the subject of our...
You know, I hadn't thought about that. If the Earth and the moon trade places, that would mean the sun and the moon could be darkened on the same day. So in the same way that the molecules kind of flip around each other, that's what he was just saying, is the magnetic pole shifts and teeny tiny subparticles. If the sun and the moon, if you think of them like subparticles, they could flip. I highly doubt that. that would really throw the Earth into a tizzy. Man, is that even possible? Anyway, not the magnetic reversal I wanted to hear about. I wanted to hear his latest update on the magnetic pole shift. I don't see him talking about it in any of his titles. Magnetic body, everything is connected. Anyway, that's probably good enough for the timeline update for a little research project for today. Let's see. I don't know. I'll tell you what, guys. I'm beginning to think. I don't think anything's going to happen. I know that we're gonna go through another cycle of the channels proclaiming the rapture. I truly believe now that the Great Tribulation has to happen before the rapture. I know everybody wants to escape the things that are coming on the whole earth, and we're told to pray to escape the things that are coming on the whole earth. That's what makes this so darn hard. Is if you're praying to escape the trials that are coming on the whole earth, then how do you know if the Great Tribulation is happening? So it's kind of like if we're getting the answer to our prayers and we're being kept from the tribulation that's coming on the whole earth, how are we going to know? It's no wonder Seal 5 is how much longer, Lord. The whole patience of the saints thing is real. But I got to be honest. I think we are beyond the point of reconciling this idea of a chiastic structure. I really was hoping that it was that simple, that it was a mirror of the seals, that it was like this. I was really hoping that this was the case. I think we're too far gone. I think we're beyond the point of it actually being a mirror image because we're beyond the day count. The day count, there's nothing I can do to reconcile the day count. What I'm beginning to think now is since this is really the end, I'm thinking that probably seal number 7 probably opens here, and maybe the magnetic pole shift is something like right here. So that is in 2028. That might be why this period of time right here is how much longer, Lord? How long do we have to wait? I think we're at this point. And then because we see the buildup. You see what's happening around the world. You know that we're going to end up in a world war. We're going to. That's probably what the Great Tribulation is. It's probably going to be the worst world war the planet has ever seen. And you can see the buildup to that. That seems to be the Great Tribulation. And I'm sure there's things that we can do to ride it out and not suffer. But this is why I constantly harp on the issue of always be prepared with 6 months. I used to say 3. Now I'm saying 6. Always be prepared with 6 months of food and water, or a way of filtering water. And really research your filters, because Berkey's, there's been a big old scandal with Berkey's. Make sure you look into the scandal, see if it's something you should take into consideration. The Life Straw. Yeah. And when you look at what's coming on the whole world, water's going to be a problem. But I kind of think that we've blown out the chiastic structure, and that's why these things aren't really happening the way we expect them to. And the reason I say 2028 is because when you look at these eclipses, that's really when the next kind of cycle of eclipses kind of plays out. So March is when, so if you look at the from the time that Donald Trump and Elon Musk started working together on January 20th, 2025, 1,260 days puts you at July 3rd, 2028. Which is right about there. That is July 22nd, 2028. Solar eclipse. And then, did we just figure this out? July 22nd. So the 2 witnesses die right before this. Holy shit. This is definitely our next watch date. I'm going to have to update my calendar for this. this is disappointing because I want Jesus to return. I imagine all of us are in that same boat. But this here is the next watch date because you got July 3rd is the end of 1,260 days. Then you've got July 22nd is a solar eclipse. July, August, September, October, November, December. How can we, is that 1,290 days? This might be worth looking into the 1,290 days and the 1,335 days. See if there's any other counts in here. But 1,260 days ends in July 3rd, 2028. And then you got a blood moon. So you'd have the sun is darkened, the moon turns to blood. Then you have people going into their bunkers. So we could be looking at another 2 years is what I'm saying. Which I don't want to wait another 2 years. Look at this. There's 3 blood moons between there. These the patterns in here are so interesting. Like 4, 5, 3, 5, 3, 1. Then you got the triads. Triad, not a triad. Triad, triad. I know, there's a lot of YouTubers who make a big deal out of the triads. But yeah, I think I'm gonna have to update this to, I think seal number 7 is probably here. Seal number 6 is probably here. Who knows when seal number 5 is? That could be any of these. We're probably in seal number 4 still. Because we are still kind of dealing with inflation, and that is the symptom of the first 4 seals. I heard in the midst of the 4 living creatures, measure of wheat for denarius, 3 measures of barley for denarius. And then so if this starts if this starts in 2030, 2028. Who knows how long seal number 6 is. So this would be a magnetic pole shift. Sometime in here. Sometime in here would be so when does Apophis hit? That's in 2029, right? Apophis 4/13/2029. 4/18/2028. That's probably when the 2 witnesses. See, this is what I mean by like we're running out of time for the 2 witnesses. Like if there's going to be, if I'm wrong about Donald Trump and Elon Musk being the 2 witnesses, they're running out of time. I mean, I guess they could show up all the way up until 3.5 years before here, but like. Yeah, I mean, I guess you could show 2 witnesses show up here, but we're gone. Why would the 2 witnesses are gone by seal number 6? Because remember, aren't they caught up to heaven when they die? They are. Let's go to Revelation 11. The witnesses killed. When they finish their testimony, the beast that ascends out of the bottomless pit will make war against them, overcome them, and kill them. And their dead bodies will lie in the street of the great city, which is spiritually called Sodom in Egypt, where our Lord was crucified. Then when it says this, so obviously Jerusalem is not Sodom in Egypt. It's spiritually called Sodom in Egypt. So their bodies will lie in the great city, which is spiritually called Sodom in Egypt. I could totally see that being D.C. I don't know. I could see Washington, D.C. being called Sodom in Egypt. I don't know if I could see Jerusalem being called Sodom in Egypt, but it does say where also the Lord was crucified. So there is a little confusion on where this takes place. Then those from the peoples, tribes, tongues, and nations will see their dead bodies 3.5 days. This is an Islamic practice to leave their bodies in the street and not allow their dead bodies to be put into graves. That is an Islamic practice, which we are seeing the invasion of Islam all around the world. Glenn Beck has been really talking about this a lot. And those who dwell on the earth will rejoice over them, make merry, and send gifts to one another, because these 2 prophets tormented those who dwell on the earth. I think this is everybody who's left behind, those who dwell on the earth, because we're not going to dwell on the earth here in a minute. Now, after 3.5 days, the breath of life from God entered into them, and they stood on their feet, and great fear fell on them who saw them, and they heard a loud voice from heaven saying, "Come up here." And they ascended to heaven in a cloud, and their enemies saw them. In the same hour there was a great earthquake, and 1/10 of the city fell. In the earthquake 7,000 people were killed. The rest were afraid and gave glory to God of heaven. The second woe is past. Behold, the third woe is coming quickly. Then the seventh angel sounded, and there was loud voices in heaven. The seventh trumpets. So, do they die before or after seal number 6? 6th trumpet. So they die between seal 6 and seal 7. So this lines up. So this is definitely the next date to look for. Right here. July 22nd, 2028. Because that is 1,260 days from when Donald Trump and Elon Musk started working together and really started tormenting the world. That's when people started flipping me off for driving a Tesla. Well, it might have started sooner when it might have started, I'm trying to remember the first time. We thought it was so funny. It was like a badge of honor. We knew it was because they hated Elon. I can't remember if it was when he started supporting him in the election, or if it was when, I'm pretty sure it was when he started working with Donald Trump and leading up Doge, heading up Doge. But anyway, do you think it's any coincidence that 1,260 days lands 2 weeks before a solar eclipse? So what's interesting is there's not a solar eclipse, lunar eclipse. What is this one? So they would almost have to die like for them to be caught up. So maybe are they caught up ahead of time? Anyway, I don't think it's any coincidence that it's this close together. That you've got a solar eclipse, lunar eclipse, and the end of 1,260 days. This one's in December. Anyway, that's what we're going to be looking at. We should move on to the Daily Torment Report. It'll be interesting to watch the blood moon tomorrow. And I know a lot of people are super stoked that this September, that the Festival of Trumpets, that it's going to be the Festival of the Rapture. You know, the other thing that I think it's probably good that we could be looking at another 2 years before the seal, before seal number 6 opens and the magnetic pole shift. Number one, it's closer to Ben Davidson's estimates for when the magnetic Earth is going to shift. He's down in the 30s right now. But also, that gives us time to win over the Jews. I think we need to see the Jews and the Christians working together more. Because those of us who are watching like we are supposed to are literally saying the same thing that the Jews are. Messiah is coming any day now. And I really do think that there needs to be a coming together between the Jews and the Christians. They need to start recognizing that Jesus is the Messiah. And I think there's enough evidence to convince them if they hear it. So that's our next objective. So if we're looking at waiting for another 2 years and suffering through a World War III during that time, that's going to be our mission objective. Reaching the Jews. We'll have to figure out something to do. We'll have to put together a mission statement and start working on a plan. Get systematized. Systematic reaching of the Jews. We'll start with Tovia, I'll tell you that. I'm confident that he is a linchpin just because he's so well versed in the Old Testament and the New Testament. I think if you can get him, and I don't know where his mind is when it comes to the stars. I don't know if he looks at it as I think I've heard him reference the stars before. He was talking to, I think I have heard him referencing the stars before. So I don't think he's looking at it as though it's some kind of witchcraft. So if he has a respect of signs in the heavens, hopefully we'll be able to reach him, because that anchor point is the key. It is the key to everything. It's the Rosetta Stone of the end times. And I think that's going to be that's going to be a key responsibility that basically keep ourselves busy for the next 2 years. Somehow we'll have to grow the show, get the show really big. Maybe we'll find an investor in the show. If anybody knows an investor who wants to invest in the show, and then I don't know, I'll start flying around and interviewing people and talking to people. Make the show big. We don't, it could be our mission for the next 2 years. Maybe I'll start seeking out investors. We'll find some investors who want to facilitate that mission, bringing the Jews and the Christians together, helping the Jews realize that Yeshua is the Messiah, that Jesus is the Messiah. Anyway, on that note, let us switch over to the Daily Torment Report. I'm going to play a little bit of this one because we switched it over to the song for Smyrna. If you guys aren't aware, I have an album dedicated to the 7 churches from the book of Revelation, and it is a chiastic structure, and it just so happens that Smyrna and Philadelphia mirror each other. So I made their melodies very similar to each other, but the words are different. I've got words that are dedicated to the Church of Smyrna and words that are dedicated to the Church of Philadelphia. We've been listening to Philadelphia for the last couple of months. Now let's listen to Smyrna.
Through shadows deep, through bitter years, I see your strength, I see your tears, the weight of loss, the trials fire, still you rise, reaching higher. They pressed you down, they closed you in, but you endured, you would not bend. Through fleeting wealth and fleeting pain, you held your ground, you bore the strain. Hold on, the dawn will break through every storm, through every ache. Though the world may take its toll, they can't touch your unbroken soul. The cost you bear, the price you've paid, for something pure, for dreams that stayed. They called you small, they called you weak, but it's your strength they cannot break. The walls may press, the night may loom, but there's a light beyond the gloom. It calls you still, it pulls you near, a voice that quiets every fear. Hold on, the dawn will break through every storm, through every ache. Though the world may take its toll, they can't touch your unbroken soul. What's unseen is stronger still. An iron heart, an iron will. No crown of gold, no fleeting gain could match the strength born out of pain. Hold on, the dawn will break through every storm, through every ache. way. The light grows brighter every day. Hold on, you're almost there. The fire you hold is beyond compare.
That is a pretty cool album. I might actually remaster that album because that was when I was making music and I wasn't using the models trained on my voice. I noticed you guys have some questions here. Yes, Hizzy, about the Nepal flood and a number of dead before the sixth seal. That is definitely part of seal number 5 is waiting for the number to be completed. There's definitely people who are apparently we're waiting for people to die. I hate saying that. That's really weird to say. That's part of seal 5. Maybe I mean it could be. There's just no other further information. I don't think there's any other information. I'm trying to think in the Old Testament. Is there anything about before the great and terrible day of the Lord? Is there anything about death? A number of people dying. We'll have to look into that. Worth investigating. We're way over time, so we're going to blast through Trump and Musk here. But it's a good question. There might be more there that we can investigate. Let's see. I saw another question in here. 2033. So the reason I chose 2031 is 14 years. There you go. Yeah, so the reason I noted Tishri 1, 2031, so this goes from Tishri 1, which is the beginning of the Hebrew New Year, and the reason I picked that is because the sign happened, I don't know if you can see that, 9/21, 2017, the anchor point happened 2 days after that. Which, if you've ever heard people talk about no man knows the day or hour, the reason that apparently that is a common phrase regarding the Festival of Trumpets, that no man knows the day or hour because the Festival of Trumpets isn't set until the sighting of the new moon. So the sighting of the new moon, that's Tishri 1, then 2 days after that, we had the anchor point on the Festival of Trumpets. So, and we expect it, so there's certain numbers and day counts that we're looking for. What was it? Daniel's calculations, and looking for a 7-year period of time. Well, we're well past 7 years past this anchor point, and I'm pretty confident that these are the seals that have opened. So you've either got like 2020 to 2027, 2028 as the 7-year period of time, or you've got 2 weeks of time that these things take place. So that's why there's 2 weeks of years, 14 years. So I'm putting it out at 14 years. I don't know how much longer we can justify going past this anchor point. That's one of the reasons why I don't have 2033 here. Now, I understand the reasoning for 2033. There's evidence that suggests that is when Yeshua had died in 2033, but there's also evidence that he was born September 11th, 3 BC. So he would have been 27 when he was 30 years old and started his ministry. And then that would put him at 30, around 30, maybe 31 when he was crucified. So it could go to 2033, but my reasoning is based on a two week period of time. So 2 years, 2 weeks of years, 14 years. That's my logic. I could definitely be wrong about that, but I think there's evidence to support it, and it looks like we're going to be going all the way there. So 2031, 2033, doesn't matter. Our next target window is like 2028 now. So yay, we got to wait another 2 years. The evil servant would say, no man knows the day or hour. Stop disappointing people and start beating people. We're not like that here. We understand that because no man knows the day or hour, we're expected to watch. That means that dates are going to come and go, and we're going to have gotten it wrong. Yes, it is disappointing. I don't want to wait another 2 years. I want the Lord to return now. But last time I checked, he doesn't work according to my schedule or my desires, unfortunately. So you can pray as hard as you want. It ain't going to happen until it's going to happen. But I mean, at the same time, it's kind of exciting because that means we have more time to see more of the prophecies fulfilled. And I really do think that the Jews, I think there needs to be a union of, there's going to be, I think things are going to get so obvious that you will have to be extremely delusional to deny things the further we get into the next couple of years. And I think the evidence is more and more supporting that Jesus is the Messiah, because we've got a timeline that we're watching the pieces put together as things happen. Sadly, we can't use it to predict the future, as evidenced by me trying to say, hey, look, this is going to be seal number 5. Well, we're not there yet. So I suck at predicting, apparently. I'm good at solving problems, but I suck at predicting. All right, let's move on to see what Donald has said. So we're going to skip the articles. All right, today we honor 13 brave American heroes who were tragically killed 5 years ago by evil jihadi terrorists in Kabul, Afghanistan. The catastrophe was a result of Sleepy Joe Biden's totally botched withdrawal from the country. That was a disaster, which left our wonderful servicemen and women defenseless and allowed the Taliban to free thousands of bloodthirsty terrorists and criminals held at Bagram prison. This was one of the greatest atrocities in the history of our nation, and we can never forget that it was the result of the sheer incompetence of Joe Biden and the Democrats who were in charge. Yes, the one who was given power to take peace from the earth. He did his job. During my 2024 campaign, I met with Abby Gate, Gold Star families, wonderful people and great patriots who were totally ignored and disrespected by the Democrat Party. I promised them we would deliver justice when I returned to the White House, and we have. We quickly apprehended the evil mastermind responsible for the deaths of our service members, and it has been one of my greatest honors as Commander-in-Chief. May God bless America, and may God bless Abby Gate Gold Star families. You will never be forgotten, President Donald J. Trump. Dude, he's just the cool president, man. I don't know. That kind of stuff touches me. President Donald J. Trump International Airport, shining bright at night, a beautiful sign welcoming travelers as they approach the terminal. That's got to piss people off. That's why I laugh every time I see something named after him. I'm like, that has got to be one of the reasons that people are tormented. His name on everything. And it's almost like a play on words when God said at the last Trump. Right? You know what may happen is, if the might be part of the justification for murdering them is Donald Trump he jokes about this all the time. He says, he talks about running again. So maybe, you're in pretty good, you're getting close to the re-election here. If he starts talking about running for another election, that might cause the beast from the bottomless pit to want to rise up against him. Anyway, just fun to watch. I tell you, look at all the cool things you're missing out on if you're not watching for the Lord's return. How about Roger Clemens not being in the National Baseball Hall of Fame and Museum in Cooperstown, New York, all because a bunch of jealous people with far less talent voted that he shouldn't be there. He was also not convicted or admitted to taking drugs. Roger is easily one of the greatest pitchers of all time. It's been a while since I've heard him say this. Winning 354 games, 7 C.Y. Young awards, a record by 3, and played in the World Series, winning 2. He was third in most strikeouts. The commissioner told me he was going to approve Pete Rose, but he waited long enough until Pete died. No wonder all baseball is in trouble. He just speaks his mind. Ralph Norman had the look of a good congressman. Not great. but ruined his career when he endorsed Nikki Haley. What is that? Something being recovered in gold. President Trump's top 150 top 150 victories for people of faith. What? Oh my goodness. Protecting religious liberty. President Trump established the historic White House Faith Office. That is yet to be determined if it actually is a victory. The first White House office focused exclusively on faith and located in the West Wing, reporting to the president and housed in the Democratic Policy Council. Could be a good thing, could be a bad thing. Yet to be determined. President Trump created centers for faith with faith directors or faith liaisons in every department and agency to represent the faith community and policies that affected people of faith. I mean, I'm very, very appreciative as long as it's not used against people. President Trump established the Religious Liberty Commission to secure and promote religious liberty for Americans of all faiths. Appointed leaders of all faiths to the Religious Liberty Commissions and its advisory boards. Established the task force to eradicate anti-Christian bias. Interesting. To eradicate See, this is why I think he might be Elijah. So I haven't made this claim in a while. So one of the two people that we're expecting as the two witnesses is Elijah, right? Because Elijah stopped the rain. Well, in Malachi 4, 5, and 6, God says, I will send Elijah before the coming of the great and terrible day of the Lord, which we just read in Joel 2:31. We've got that nailed down to like about here. This might be before the coming of the great and terrible day of the Lord. So Trump could be that Elijah. I'm just saying. God said he would send him. And the fact that he's doing these things for Christians, which I believe are the children. I could be wrong about this. I have a completely different take than Jews and most people, as is my manner. That's, so you know, that's been a common thing with me my entire life. I've always been the oddball out. So I'm very used to it. God prepared me for that, I'll tell you what. Malachi 4, 5, and 6. Yeah, Jews don't pronounce it Malachi. They pronounce it Malachi. So if you look at Malachi 4, 5, and 6, behold, I will send you Elijah the prophet before the coming of the great and dreadful day of the Lord. Well, if this is the great dreadful day of the Lord, that would be Elijah being done with his job. Right? You got to see that this is too much to be a coincidence. There's too many bloody things happening at the same time to call this a coincidence. President Trump appointed leaders of all faiths to the Religious Liberty Commission. Oh, I meant to go read Malachi. And he will turn the hearts of the fathers to the children, and the hearts of the children to their fathers, lest I come and strike the earth with a curse. The Jews Tovia Seeger talks about this. He thinks that the Jewish children are going to turn to the Jewish fathers. And to me, like, my first question is, are they really that divided right now? Like, are there Jewish fathers out there that have got terrible relationships with their children? That's just silly. What makes more sense to me is Jews follow Moses, right? Moses is the one who led the children of Israel out of bondage from Egypt. The Jews follow Moses. So to me, that seems more like the fathers of the things we believe, right? Because Jesus was Jewish. He's a son of Israel, a child of Israel. And he started another understanding of the things that Moses said, right? He clarified, what are the two most important commandments? Well, love God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength, and love your neighbor as yourself. On these two commandments hang all the law and prophets, right? He started another movement, which is turned into Christianity. Yes, it is a sparse group of people with many different beliefs, but from that perspective, that seems more like the fathers and the children. Like you've got the Jews who follow Moses and the children who follow Yeshua, Jesus. And he says here, behold, I will send you Elijah the prophet before the coming of the great and dreadful day of the Lord, and he will turn the hearts of the fathers to the children and the hearts of the children to their fathers. And I see this, I'm telling you, I've watched Tovia Singer for the last 4 years. His heart has changed. If you watch his earlier stuff, here, I'll prove it to you. Tovia Singer. Tovia. Apparently it's going to be a long night. Let's go back to his earlier stuff. He was not very nice. If you come in here, and he posts a lot, so we're gonna go low. We gotta go deep, 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 deep. Deep, 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 deep. He posts multiple times a day. It's only 11 months ago. Let's get 4 years ago, before October. If you watched any of Tovia Singer before October, 2 years ago, dude was mean. He was significantly more aggressive. Now he's significantly more empathetic. I think now that he realized the Messiah is coming. I actually used to comment on his videos the Messiah was coming before October. I need to find some of those, see what I said to him. As if you see how many videos he posts? I doubt he saw any of my comments. 3 years ago. Four years ago. Did you ever watch this kind of stuff?
You have a question. This gentleman, I promise, was next.
Thanks a lot. So I have 2 parts from the Tanakh that I want to also quote and ask you about it. But first I want to start with this. At the beginning there was no Christianity. At the beginning there was no Jesus. You said...
Just say the beginning, I don't know, the beginning in the 1st century or the beginning of the world? Oh, 1st century, okay.
Is there any...
So let's go to your question, go ahead.
Now we go to the two scriptures of the Tanakh. We have... I will start with Daniel. Yeah? Is Daniel the truth? Or will you also tell me that Daniel at the end was miscalculating on his numbers?
Oh, no. Daniel's the word of God, of course.
Oh, Daniel is the word of God. So Daniel in chapter 9 gives us exactly the year when Mashiach is going to come. And he tells us that after he came, the temple...
What is this calculation? Please share it with us.
The calculation is in the scripture.
So tell it to me, please. I'm very curious.
Oh, you know the calculation.
So if I know it, why am I not a Christian?
Very interesting that I hear other times, oh, Daniel did miscalculate.
I'm not, just like you're not responsible for Roman Catholics, don't make me responsible for everybody else, okay? All right, so now, please tell me the calculation of Daniel chapter 9.
We have a clear calculation. Everybody can read it out.
No, you're not being honest now. If you have such a fantastic calculation, don't tell me I know it.
So he is being honest. It is a complex calculation. The fact that he's trying to push him on it, this is kind of the stuff that I'm talking about. He's significantly less empathetic than he is now. Now he'll just take their word for it if you listen to him.
No, don't. What is that calculation? I'm listening. Give it to me. What is it?
What he told us this weeks that will pass and will pass till Mashiach will come brings us to the year 32.
Really? How does that? Please tell me the math. I'm very interested.
Oh, We have to get aboard.
Why at the board? Just give me. Believe me, I'm very familiar with the text. If you just tell me when we start counting, I'll know exactly. When do we start counting the 490 years? You tell me.
Oh, he knows it.
I heard of it once in my life, yes.
Yeah.
When do we
I
start
told
counting?
you.
No, I'm asking you. You're saying
He used to be such an ass.
you believe.
He's very watchable because of that. So dramatic. But I started to get really mad at him, so I actually stopped watching him for a while.
In this faith, and this is the first verse you ever brought up. I asked you a question. I think it's a fair question.
I believe he's lost a lot of weight. He's heavier in this picture than he is now. I think he's lost some weight.
Please, Pertel, tell us this calculation. And I asked you the most simplest thing. If it's a 490-year prophecy, please tell me when we start counting. That's a fair question. So please, it's changed your life. Tell me when. I say it as a brother.
I have to answer on that. This is not the point that changed my life.
Well, you can't. What you're doing is.
When I bring it up, I hear everybody telling me that this is a miscalculation.
Please, all right, I'll do this. Let's jettison Daniel 9 then. If you're saying, you're actually bringing me a proof of a verse, and then when I asked you, just explain it to me without a board, just when you start counting. I mean, you said, I want to talk to you, sweetheart. Listen, brother.
Sweetheart.
Brother the
That drives
brother,
me insane.
achi-tachi, okay? Daniel 9, you're saying, contains a chapter of 27 passages. You're saying that in this chapter contains the proof of exactly the day of his crucifixion, which you're saying is 32. Accepted completely. 32. Beautiful. This is what is. Stay with me. Stay with me. No, stay with me. Stay with me. So, and you're saying you agreed. You said, "Ha, Rabbi, you know it." So I said to you, it's a 490-year prophecy, which culminates at 32, as you say. Granted all. So I asked you a fair question. When do you start counting, and how do you know you start counting that way? If you can't answer that question, then I would just say to you, then we'll move on to the next topic. But I would say to
he's patient. I'm not trying to pick on him. I'm just trying to point out that he's changed. Because if you spend any time watching these debates, you will, as a Christian, you'll get very irritable. Trust me, I know. That's my point. Is like the guy is trying to make. He's trying the guy in the pew is trying to make a point, and Tovia's just like running him all over the place. He doesn't do that so much anymore. Now he's much more. He just grants him the thing. And then responds to him. It's much more empathetical. There's definitely been a change in Tovia. And that's one of the reasons why I think Tovia is probably pivotal to the fathers and children's hearts being turned to one another. Because I could totally see him. I've seen the change since October 7th. I've seen him change the way he treats Christians from this, where he'll run them around, to now it's just like, I'll grant it to you. Please tell me what it is that you want to say. So we can go watch another one. I mean, like, this goes on for a while.
who is this Mashiach Nogid, an anointed prince, royalty, who gives the command to rebuild Yerushalayim? Who is he? There's only one person in Tanakh. Open up your Bible to Isaiah 45, verse 1, and accept Hashem in your life right now. And it says there openly, so says the Lord of Kairesh, he's my Mashiach, who gave the command to rebuild Yerushalayim. That's who it is. What the church did was, they took the word Mashiach appears in Tanakh 39 times. In all 37 other times, it's translated as anointed. As it turns out, the word Mashiach appears more frequently in the book of Leviticus than any other book, because it's the Kehanim who are frequently called the Mashiach, or HaMashiach. So in all other places, all the good Christian Bibles translated as anointed, and only here they translate it as Messiah, capital M, all those things are capital letter in the Hebrew language, they stick it in there. Then they put a definite article, doesn't say HaMashiach.
Very dramatic.
but the Messiah. This is a corruption of epic proportions. But I just ask you the question, think, why would Christians in the first century not think this was an important enough passage to quote? The answer is it starts with the destruction of the first temple. Read Daniel chapter 1, verses 1 and Daniel 9, verses 1 and 2. And it ends with the destruction of the temple. My gosh. Read verse 26 and 27. The end of this 490-year period is the destruction of the people of the prince who come down with a flood and destroy the sanctuary. Well, what sanctuary was destroyed in the year 32? And the answer is there was none. There was no temple. The Beis HaMikdash wasn't destroyed for another 40 years. That's 5 more weeks. It doesn't work. Now, are you today going to change your mind? Or are you today going to turn to Torah Judaism? I don't know. But at least I implore you.
So you can see the divide. That's obvious. But he's definitely changed his tone. So here's I haven't watched this. Let's watch this together. This is somebody attacking him. Let's see how he responds.
The Orthodox Jews are trying to obey the Old Testament, even though they can't. Because in the Old Testament, the center was the temple. The priest would then offer the sacrifices. This is the entire Old Testament system.
Dun, 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 dun. Oh shit, I forgot. They nail me every time. I get a copy. I get a copyright every time I play that song.
Claims about
whatever.
The faith of Israel that keeps me scratching my head and not understanding why he says the things that he does. And just to be clear, Pastor Driscoll is a Christian Zionist. Ordinarily, these kind of things don't come from evangelical pastors who are premillennial, but this one did.
The Orthodox Jews are trying to obey the Old Testament, even though they can't. Because in the Old Testament, the center was the temple. The priest would then offer the sacrifices. This is the entire Old Testament system. After the death, the resurrection, ascension of Jesus in 70 AD, temple destroyed, no priest, no sacrifices. You technically cannot be an Orthodox Jew because you can't do what the Old Testament says to do. You have to ignore whole books like Leviticus that are all about going to the temple and offering your sacrifice. So there are Reform Jews, and Reform Jews would say, well, we hold some of the cultural Judaism, but we're not really
out of the 613 commandments. I think it's like 200.
Committed to the feasts and the holidays, and we're not maintaining any sort of continuity with how Jews lived thousands of years ago. We're going to just reform and keep reforming.
Right. So it really is very striking that a person like this, as I said, he's a premillennial evangelical Christian, and typically they would be more mapped onto and in contact with the Hebrew Bible. And what he's suggesting is that it's impossible for an Orthodox Jew to be observant given that there's no temple. So if there's no temple, then we can't carry out the laws outlined as an example in the book of Leviticus he points to, which is correctly Torah's.
You know what? I'm not trying to paint him bad. Just to be fair, I was very hard like he was. I've had my moments where I've been an a-hole. You guys saw me. Some of you have seen me debate. You've seen good debates with me. You haven't seen bad debates with me. I was very much like Tovia. You'd see flames coming from my head in debates. Very passionate. I honestly, I have mixed feelings about debates because I have yet to have actually, usually on the subjects that I debate, most people don't move one way or the other. Both parties typically don't move one way or the other. That's why I don't do them on the show. You know, the whole Crucible of Truth or whatever, you know, we tried that and it just turned into drama fests. And I'm not really a fan of drama fests. You know, and then you get people bringing on their friends to gang up against somebody, and then that person's got to bring somebody to, you know, so there's a fair balance. So I'm not trying to like talk down to Tovia. We you know, we all grow. What you can see, though, here is he has a completely different demeanor and a response to Christians who are challenging his faith. So in the first one, the guy was trying to show Daniel's calculations lead to the Messiah, and he just wouldn't have any part of it. barely let him talk and get his point out. Where now, obviously it's a different environment. He's not in a synagogue teaching, now he's responding to videos, but you can see the difference. This is why I say that, like, he's an expert in the Old Testament, and whether you like it or not, he's an expert in the New Testament as well. And I've seen him inching closer and closer to the Messiah, to seeing Jesus as the Messiah that they're waiting for. He is all in on the Messiah is coming at any time. All in on it. That is his primary topic every day. That's his mission in life right now. So I see him as pivotal to bringing together and changing the hearts, because I already see his heart changing. But to see this continue, I think he's gonna be pivotal with the rest of the Jews as well. Hopefully it'll cascade here at some point. And it looks like we got another 2 years before the magnetic pole shift and the great and awesome day of the Lord.
Kohanim contains laws, many laws, but part of those laws are the laws of priests in the temple. And he's saying, well, if you don't have a temple, you cannot be a God-fearing, loyal Jew to the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. I really want to be charitable here, and I will be. And I'll just say he's just regurgitating something he must have heard from a missionary, or must have heard in seminary from his pastor or from his...
This is what I mean. He's way more charitable now than he was way back then.
I don't know, but there's almost no point of contact between what he said and the Hebrew Bible, in the sense that this kind of a statement isn't just wrong, it's completely detached from the reality that comes into full view in Tanakh. As it turns out, Tanakh addresses this issue quite directly, and it ought to, because ask yourself the following question. Let's talk about Daniel, a prophet, a great man of God, and I'm sure Pastor Driscoll would agree that Daniel was one of the greatest men who ever lived, right? Well, when he lived, when he devoted his life to the God of Israel, and the Almighty called him beloved, and there was good reason for that. After all, Daniel not just devoted his life to God, but was willing to lose his life, willing to die, rather than worship anyone but the true God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. I mean, Daniel was thrown into a pit of ravenous lions. See Daniel chapter 6, a very moving chapter, which no doubt he's heard about. Well, during this time when Daniel was preaching and stood up for the God of Israel, he was no doubt an Orthodox Jew by any measure. He would not eat of any food prepared for him by Nebuchadnezzar's palace. He would only eat raw foods. He certainly wouldn't drink wine that wasn't kosher. We find that out. So he was as Orthodox as possible. Okay? So how was Daniel considered beloved by God? He was certainly a faithful servant of the Almighty. And I'm choosing Daniel because I know that Pastor Mark Driscoll believes that Daniel was a faithful saint of God. He was loyal to God. He was the quintessential Orthodox Jew. Ideal. So I'm steel-manning this. So how was Daniel loyal based on Pastor Driscoll's standard? After all, there was no temple during the lifetime of Daniel. Temple had been destroyed. Daniel thrived and preached during the Neo-Babylonian Empire, meaning after the temple had been destroyed by Nebuchadnezzar.
This is actually a really good point. He's making very good arguments, counter arguments to Pastor Driscoll's points. And this is kind of illustrating the whole point about Elijah. This is why I think it's the hearts of the fathers to the children and the hearts of the children to the fathers. Is there needs to be a coming together. They need to both realize they've got things wrong, and there needs to be a coming together and a joining, coming out of the confusion. The series that we've been doing, the beginning of knowledge, answering the 109 questions. I'm not saying that I got 100% of them right. It's not like it's a test. But there's obviously doctrinal confusion. Sorry, there's an accident outside. I'm just making sure everybody's okay. Looks like just a fender bender. Oh. Being towed. I completely lost track. What was I saying? Elijah. The hearts of the children. They've got problems on both sides. The Jews need to recognize that Yeshua is the Messiah. And we have the evidence that is concrete and significantly stronger than most people have. The Revelation 12 sign, the opening of the seals, where we are in the timeline. Yeah, I get things wrong, but we've got a history of stuff that we've identified. And at the same time, you've got the Christians that need to recognize that the Jews are part of the 12 tribes of Israel. And, you know, they, in a lot of ways, they're getting things right that a lot of Christians are getting wrong. There's a reason that Dr. Todd Phillips left Christianity, because Christianity was not sufficiently answering his questions. I'd be curious to I'd be curious to see him speak with some Jews. There's a middle ground. That's what I'm trying to say, is there's a middle ground to where the Jews and the Christians come together. And I think that's what Elijah does. I could be wrong about that. This is just my take on this, on Malachi 4, 5, and 6. Because the timing sure as hell fits. I will send you Elijah the prophet before the coming of the great and dreadful day of the Lord, and he will turn the hearts of the fathers to the children. So it's interesting. This is all stemming from, I'm not going to read all 150 of these just because we're already crazy over time. But the fact that he's doing this and the fact that he's defending Israel tells me that he's working towards a common good between the two. Yeah, I've talked too much. I don't really have time to read all 150. Ending the weaponization of government and promoting free speech. Expanding school choice and protecting parental rights. Protecting women in sports. Restoring biological truth. I mean, like, that's just basic stuff. All right. Let's see if he's got anything else, and we're going to move on to Elon. Holy jeez. A lot of stuff. Anything else worth paying attention to here? Zoom in. Nope. Yeah. All right, just in the effort of time, I'm going to probably call that good because we're already coming up. We're coming up on the 3-hour mark, guys. See what happens when I don't plan. We fill time. We fill time very easily. All right, just wondering. Let's see. Oh. These are posts. Oh, he hasn't why am I not seeing any new posts? Oh. There you go. 20 hours ago. Let's see. Breaking brands. That's Doge designer. Wait, why am I seeing his posts? These are yesterday's posts. Did he not post today? I know he's posted today. I've been getting alerts all freaking day. There he is. Yeah, 7 hours ago. It's a great location for a wide range of azimuths. Space joke. On target. What is this? Critically, Pecan Island, 30 miles away from the nearest town, 50 miles away from a major city. Starship is insanely loud. On targets. 100% agree with whatever this is.
The amount of indoctrination that's happening in schools and universities is, I think, far beyond what parents realize. And I sort of came to realize this somewhat late. The experience that we had in high school and college is not the experience that kids today are having. I suppose in some cases that parents, but I think like parents are just generally not aware of what their kids are being taught, or what they're not being taught.
But they're letting the kids think that they're equal.
I mean, yeah. Let me give you an example that a friend of mine told me, which his daughters go to college go to high school in the Bay Area, and he was asking them, like, well, so who are the first few presidents of the United States? They could name Washington, and I said, well, what do you know about him? Well, he was a slave owner. What else?
Right.
The amount of indoctrination that's happening in
Bullseye. Yep. So all he did was responding to stuff today. Has officially entered the universe. Fire. Not possible. What is this? What is that responding to? What's not possible? No idea what that's responding to. Is it part of this? McDonald's has Red Bull? I don't know how to Twitter. The wait is almost over. Path to Exile 2 releases in December. Cool. Video game stuff. Will be way more jobs than that. Where are these coming from? What are they replies to? Why can't I scroll up and see what he replied to? Weird. This is why I don't read the replies tab. It's weird. When Elon looks at the sun, 173 petawatt fusion reactor of free energy. That's just the tiny amount of solar power that reaches Earth. The sun outputs about 10 to the 26 power of watts. Cool. Doing large projects is almost illegal. In terms of time, money, and penalties, I think building infrastructure for the common good is actually more illegal than murder. Yeah, in principle, there's a pathway to permitting anything you want. In practice, it requires either an act of Congress or a gigantic bribe. Doing large projects is almost illegal. Megatons to orbit and beyond is a critical piece of the K2 puzzle. The other parts, massive amounts of solar cell production, AI chip production, millions of humanoid general purpose robots, and a mass driver to the moon. Yep, will enable over 2 million tons a year, 10,000 launches a year secured. Gary, Indiana has been without power for 11 days. Gary, Indiana is 76% black, yet another example of environmental racism. Indeed. Oh my goodness. Acknowledging the entire U.S. political system has been radically corrupted by a criminal leftist conspiracy epitomized by blatant immigration fraud would be a bit authoritarian. True. Looks like he's responded to a bunch of stuff. If you hate Western civilization, you don't deserve it. Fair. All right. Well, what else has he done? What has he been doing? What has he been up to today? Let me see. I've got a list here. Let's see. The Ukraine Award. President Zelensky awarded Musk's Ukraine Order of Freedom, one of its highest state honors, via presidential decree published today. The citation recognized his outstanding personal merits in protecting human life and freedom and strengthening Ukraine-U.S. ties tied to Starlink's role in Ukrainian communications and drone operations since 2022. Ukraine is simultaneously pressing him to allow Starlink use over Russian territory for longer range strikes. See, I didn't get this, because I'm always looking for attributes of the two witnesses. But you know how it says they have the power to stop the rain? Elon Musk has got he's got the power to stop internet in countries now. So it's interesting when you catalog what these guys have power over. Just one more thing. Alrighty, well, we're at the 3-hour mark, guys. Do you have any questions? Did I miss any questions? speak now or forever hold your peace. And while I'm waiting for you guys to catch up and ask me any questions, I just want to encourage you guys to, I think the next 2 years. So if the Lord tarries, if he delays, which it looks like he is, looks like we might have another 2 years, really focus on loving God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength, and love your neighbor as yourself. I haven't recommended this book in a while, but there's a book that really helped me. It was a real manly book. It's called Negotiate Like Your Life Depends on It by Chris Voss. And he was the head of the hostage negotiations for a couple of years. That book had a serious impression on me for how to listen to people, even if you fake it. The funny thing is the more you fake listening to people, the more empathetic you become, because you realize that listening is the key to empathy. And that book's all about, I got it on audio. I used to listen to it every month. I need to listen to it again because there's tips and techniques in there, like mirroring, how to mirror somebody by repeating back to them the last couple of words that they said. It has a dramatic impact on your conversation. There's a lot of really good keys in there, even if you fake it. Even if you fake listening to somebody, it changes you. So I highly recommend at least getting the audio book for Negotiate Like Your Life Depends on It by Chris Voss. It's a very good book. And the reason I bring that up is because it can help you, and we all need help with this. There's nobody out there that's perfect. It can help you love your neighbor as yourself. Our family, we're making efforts every day to find out what it means for us to love our neighbor as ourselves. And we can all do more. You know, the stuff that we have in our life right now, the things that we value, they're meaningless. Just think about that. When the Lord returns, you're not taking anything with you. So how important are the things that you're doing right now? Really, the most important thing that we can be doing right now, loving God with all our heart, soul, mind, and strength, and love our neighbor as ourselves. And that will yield benefits that you can actually take with you. So do you want to be rewarded when the Lord returns? Or do you want to be somebody who says the Lord delays his coming and you're going to go eat and drink with the drunkard and start beating the fellow servants? I would highly encourage you to not do that, because that path ends poorly. The path that ends well is the servant who is found watching when the Lord returns. And that's what I would recommend that you do, because our God is a mighty God and our redemption is drawing nigh. We are potentially within 2 years of our redemption, which I hate saying that because I was hoping it was this year. I'm always hoping it's this year. I'm always hoping it's the next moment I take a breath. But our next watch date looks like it's in 2028. So just remember, our God is a mighty God. God bless you guys. Shalom.
Our God is a mighty God. He stands eternal and strong, with power, justice, and truth. Our God is a mighty God. Our God is a mighty He stands eternal and strong, with iron and flame, justice forged in the void, light that crushes the dark. Our God is a mighty God. Heavens tear open, worlds tremble at his battle march. Every darkness, every tyrant, every curse will fall when the Messiah rises and announces the final call. He splits the seas with a roar like a lion, commands the legions in celestial advance. The lightning his hammer, the thunder he wields. He vanquishes evil and makes the broken healed. Our God is a mighty God. He stands in